Good morning. Happy Saturday morning. It is pretty early. It is 7. I think it's maybe a few minutes before 7. I've been up since 4 o'clock. Don't know why. So I worked for a little bit and then I decided to go ahead and get on here and do my video for today. Today I'm going to be reading from my blog on Psalm 6, which is entitled Liquid Prayers. And the synopsis for this blog is, "My weeping has a voice that God hears and cares about." Psalm 6 is not too long, but I'm going to read the whole thing. "Lord, do not rebuke me in your anger, or discipline me in your wrath. Have mercy on me, Lord, for I am faint. Heal me, Lord, for my bones are in agony. My soul is in deep anguish. How long, Lord, how long? Turn, Lord, and deliver me. Save me because of your unfailing love. Among the dead, no one proclaims your name. Who praises you from the grave? I am worn out from my groaning. All night long I flood my bed with weeping and drench my couch with tears. My eyes grow weak with sorrow. They fail because of all my foes. Away from me, all you who do evil, for the Lord has heard my weeping. The Lord has heard my cry for mercy. The Lord accepts my prayer. All my enemies will be overwhelmed with shame and anguish. They will turn back and suddenly be put to shame." Psalm 6 has the typical pattern that David follows in his writing: anguish, crying out to God, begging God to destroy his enemies, remembering the confidence he has in God, coming out victorious in the end. I broke down a similar psalm verse by verse in my blog on Psalm 3. In meditating on Psalm 6, I asked God to give me something new. I love reading commentaries, and for this psalm, I read a commentary on the Enduring Word website that was written by David Guzik. I hope I'm saying that correctly. There were a lot of really good points and new ways of looking at this psalm, but his thoughts on one verse in particular created a spark in me that I just had to share. Verse 8 says, "Away from me, all you who do evil, for the Lord has heard my weeping." And that's the New International Version. The King James Version says, "The Lord has heard the voice of my weeping." Guzik says this about verse 8: "Weeping has a voice before God." It isn't that God is impressed by emotional displays, but a passionate heart impresses him. David wasn't afraid to cry before the Lord, and God honored the voice of his weeping. That was all a quote from the commentary that I referenced. And then my blog goes on to say, "I love the idea of our weeping having a voice before God. However, I don't like the word impress because it sends a mixed message for me. Can we really impress God? I think our tears and emotions are met with compassion in the heart of the Father." Guzik goes on to share a quote by Charles Spurgeon, which says, "Is it not sweet to believe that our tears are understood even when words fail? Let us learn to think of tears as liquid prayers." When I read that for the first time, I felt something stir inside of me. I love the visual and the imagery of my tears being poured out as liquid prayers, especially when I am beyond words to pray. Another verse from the Psalms comes to mind, Psalm 56, verse 8. "Record my misery. List my tears on your scroll. Are they not in your record?" The ESV says, "You have kept count of my tossings. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book?" And the King James Version, "Thou tellest my wanderings. Put thou my tears in your bottle. Are they not in thy book?" How many bottles of liquid prayers does God have of mine that I've cried during so many, many times of wandering? Too many to count, I'm sure. And what is this record, this book that holds the count of tears? What a read that must be. Reading this only confirms that David thought God was full of compassion too. He knew he could trust God with the deepest parts of himself, his anguish, his groaning, his weeping. He knew he could place it all in God's care, not to impress God, but to find true comfort and relief from the one who cares deeply enough about our pain to keep a collection of our tears. So that is my blog on Psalm 6, and I don't know how many thoughts I'll be able to share without getting emotional. And I'm not even sure why. It's just, I think the gratitude and the thankfulness that I have in my heart for God's compassion is, it feels like it's overflowing today. And I was thinking in reading this and kind of preparing my thoughts about what I wanted to say about this blog, this in-between day between Good Friday and Easter has always felt like a sad day to me. Probably because if you think about how Jesus' followers would have felt on this day, the person that they had trusted and thought was going to be the answer to all of their prayers has died. And they can't see the big picture. They don't know what the plan is. All they know is that they had all their hopes and dreams wrapped up in this one person, and now that person's dead. And they don't know what's going to happen on the third day. They don't know about the resurrection. So thankfully, we can view our lives and our disappointments and our messed up plans and frustrations through the lens of post-resurrection. But I just think about all of the similarities between how those, first followers of Jesus would have felt compared to, even though we know what the end of the story is, as they say, today's story can sometimes feel dark and like we don't know what's going on, and we don't know what to think, and we don't know how to have any more faith, and we don't know how to hold on to hope. And even though we know that, God has the victory in the end, this in-between time can be hard. And I have had a lot of in-between times in my life. I guess, we're kind of all in one right now. Pre-virus, post-virus, in between this waiting game that we're playing. But even bigger than that, in between the diagnosis and the cure, or the diagnosis and, the end of someone's life. There's a lot of in-between time there where you don't know what's going to happen, or, in between, waiting for your marriage to be healed, waiting for someone to find recovery. There's so many examples, and if I go too far down that road, I definitely will end up crying. So, anyway, I just probably need to wrap this up before I start bawling my eyes out and embarrassing myself. But I just really hope that you, if you're struggling today, that you would find comfort in the fact that the same God that raised Jesus from the dead can do miracles in your life. And even if the only miracle that you need is just knowing that you're not alone, or just wanting to feel God's presence, He can do that. So if you are in that place, like I say on every video, I would encourage you to reach out and ask someone to talk to you, pray with you, whatever you need. Don't be afraid to ask for help. It's definitely not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength. And I will just have to leave you guys with that because, like I said, I'm getting all teary-eyed with every thought that comes into my mind. But I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow is Easter, so I don't know if I'll share a Psalms blog or maybe something different, but I hope everyone has a good Saturday. Hopefully it's sunny where you're at, and maybe you can get out and play in the sun or go for a walk and just enjoy the day for whatever God has planned for you. And I will be back tomorrow, and I will talk to you all then. Bye-bye.